yesterday, or I guess today technically, I watched the entirety of the One Piece live action, and holy shit, it was actually good. It was actually like really, really great. And I'm like a huge One Piece fan. If we look how many episodes I've watched, 841. So like, and I enjoyed it a lot. There were a couple decisions here and there that weren't like from the manga, but all of them made sense. Some of them I was like, I don't know about, but like I could understand why they're the way they are. Like for example, in the Baratie arc, the fucking purple-haired guy, that doesn't happen. So what ends up happening is Sanji leaves a bit too easily. I distinctly remember how difficult of a decision it was for Sanji to leave. He was like very adamant about, hell nah, I'm not leaving. And then Luffy needed to defeat that guy to like really show what's out there. When in the live action, Sanji left pretty easily, and his conflict with Zeph felt a bit rushed, and overall, the latter part, in some cases like this one, felt a bit rushed, and Nami's backstory as well. Like when we first see her, the way she like explodes out of nowhere and says way too much unprompted felt a bit fast. But then again, maybe that was also the case in the original One Piece, like manga. I might be misremembering for all I know. So, like 1 or 2 more episodes would be perfect, but honestly, like very understandable. Basically, they worked with what they could, and they did it really well, even though like these 2 moments were kind of like even then, like amazing. Also, there's a trans actor in the live action, and I keep forgetting his fucking name, the purple-haired guy, Kobe, right. The actor is trans. They use they them pronouns as far as I know, which is so cool. Like wow. Immediately when I noticed like Kobe, I was like, holy shit, you're so cute. Oh my god. Literally the cutest character in the live cast. Like wow. Yeah. Basically I loved it. The like cast decisions were amazing, and they did incredible things like they made Zoro even hotter somehow. I didn't think it was possible. Turns out, I guess it is. They made Zoro even hotter. Crazy. He's already my favorite Straw Hat, but now he's even hotter. Sanji now actually has Riz somehow. Then Nami, like in the anime / manga, she's my least favorite Straw Hat. I'm pretty sure always been. Well, I guess pre-time skip Usopp probably took the crown. But post-time skip, yeah, definitely. Like Nami's my least favorite. Especially considering how they kind of pushed her aside as well as Chopper. Yeah, but basically in live action, I actually quite like Nami. Her like specialties are shown a bit better, and her annoyances, like punching Luffy every other second, it doesn't happen anymore. Same about Usopp. Pre-time skip Usopp is unbearable. Like he's way too cowardly and way too like annoying. In live action, we very clearly see, holy fucking shit, shut the fuck up, everyone. We clearly see his, like, the side of him for which he's so appreciated by the crew. We see the side of him that's jokey, that makes fun stories up, and he's like the heart of the crew. I think the live action expresses that way better than One Piece does. Even to this day being the episode 847, I like Usopp now. Like, I actually like him. But I think even at that point, live action expresses why Usopp matters and why you should like him, basically, way better. Okay, who else? Luffy, he's perfect, has a bit more brain than he does in the anime. Did I miss anyone? Oh, what I found interesting is that I'm pretty sure in the community it's very widely accepted that Kuina, the best friend of Zoro, killed herself. I'm pretty sure like everyone agrees on that. So I was really wondering, would they express it that way or no in the live action? They didn't. Interesting decision. I think that's all of them, if I'm not forgetting anyone. No, I don't think I am. Yeah, basically, it was amazing. Season 2 when, and please live action the entire show because that was really good. That was really good. Now, let's actually get to programming. I collected a bunch of small things that I want to do. So let's go through them and figure out how that may matter in the experience of using my computer. And you might get some ideas for yourself as well. So let's go to abbreviations first and then go to conf. I've been using tabs for Rust instead of the 4 spaces, which is the like recommendation by the language, and I really have to fight against Rust to be able to use tabs, because a bunch of snippets that are just in the language, in the LSP more specifically, they are geared with you using 4 spaces in mind. And therefore you really often need to format your document or whatever to fix them to tabs. It's not a huge deal, but it's pretty noticeable. Whenever you copy code of any language for that matter, it probably has 4 spaces indentation, never tabs, and even if it did have tabs, when you copy it you get spaces instead. Once again, you have to format. Then in documentation comments, you get a warning if you use tabs instead of spaces. So there's a lot of fighting, especially in Rust, trying to use tabs. So I decided for a bit to switch back to spaces for Rust, check it out. Maybe I can manage it. Oh, and also the thought that even provoked all this is, first of all, am I actually, yeah, I am streaming. Okay, great. Stream health. Right, so the thought that provoked me to try out spaces again is because I went to the terminal here and let's ggl to get a link and open it. Let's look at some of the files in the browser. I guess that's not going to be a good example because I already switched to spaces, but say we get here. It's not a perfect example. Let's go to main. That has a lot of indentation because I'm parsing the subcommands of my CLI. I know, but let me get to it. So here we have 4 spaces, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. With tabs, GitHub uses 8 spaces for some odd reason to display tabs. So this was like twice to the right, which is like, and I looked around. Maybe like there's a setting, oh, like display tabs as this amount of things, and no, not really. Basically, you can change you can. All right, if I can. Wait, if I click settings, where do I get to? To the place that shows my password or something? What's the setting? Before we get to that setting, let's try to argue both sides. So the side of me where basically I want to use tabs is okay, apparently there is a setting that changes that, and therefore you as the user of GitHub should know about it. GitHub cannot show your password. No, that's fair. I mean, like some other personal information as soon as I click settings instead of like something more neutral. I don't want to like turn off the screen for a second, maybe like, you know, what page I end up on, like if it's safe or not for streaming. Okay, so the argument is I use tabs, it's your issue that maybe you don't know about this setting, deal with it. But then I have 2 years experience of being a programmer. I've been using GitHub for like most of that time, and I didn't know about it, which I imagine also means that most people don't know that you can change it. So when they see tabs, they're like, well, holy shit, that's annoying, can't do anything about it. Which is honestly, I think, is a very valid point against tabs here. However, save to click. Right, because you're a mod and you can set links. Amazing, thank you. Okay. Why is it 8 by default? That's so crazy. Well. I can make it look exactly how it looks for me. That's perfect. Brilliant. Do I need to save or something? No, saves automatically. Thank you, Misha. Okay, so the opposite point towards tabs, like, I made a point for tabs already, basically saying that it's your issue if you don't know that setting. Okay, against tabs. No, I guess I made both points already. In that case, I'm actually going to switch back to tabs, because since there is a way to change how they're displayed, then I think the main good thing about tabs, if you ask anyone like, oh, why do you use like spaces or why do you use tabs? Usually actually people don't have a precise answer, but I've been thinking a lot about it. I've switched back and front between them. First of all, I'm gonna say that both are valid options. Why not just config using tab to input 4 spaces? I'm not talking about the way to indent. I have multiple of those. That's not really the issue here. The issue is what actual characters I end up using. And the good thing about tabs, right, so both are valid options. However many times I switched back and forth, both have their advantages, both are valid. There's not one that is just better overall. However much I want that to be the case, it's just not. So both spaces and tabs are good in their own ways, and the good thing about tabs is that you, the user, get to pick how they're displayed without changing any characters. If you use tab indentation, and maybe you're a freak like me, apparently, and use 3, like what is this? Like what? Not necessarily, I disagree. So you as the user, maybe you want to use 3-spaced indentation. Well, if indentation is done with tabs, you can just change how that's displayed on your machine without making that decision for anyone else. So another person who's maybe even more of a freak and likes 5-spaced tabs, they once again just set how big a tab is displayed for them without changing a single character. And you can work in unison, making your code look more like what you want, not like what some person wants. So if I make my projects with tab-spaced indentation, sure, a lot of people will be annoyed, like, oh, come on, why not spaces? But they get to use like 4-spaced indentation by just changing how those tabs look without me having to match that ridiculous standard. I think 4 is a bit too much, 3 is perfect, 2 is too little. And if I want to standardize, I would have to use 4 spaces probably. I really don't want to. I think it's like unnecessary. But for some reason, a lot of people are like, no, 3 is weird. I can't explain why, but it's bad. You know? I've asked a lot of people about this, and nobody has like a precise, well thought of reason. To be fair, that's very fine. It's kind of autistic of me to think about it this much. So like, that's fair. But basically, nobody has a good reason towards it. Does it really matter? There's a lot of questions in programming that you could ask this question about. But I think it's like in the programmer's blood to worry a lot about small things. I think that's valid. That's our profession. That's what we're passionate about. That's what we have a fire burning inside of us for. Worrying about these small things that maybe ultimately don't matter, I think it's a good thing. So, in terms of spaces versus tabs, I think it matters because of feelings. Because different people will have different feelings about both decisions. A lot of people, I imagine, don't really care. But some people will care a lot. So the reason why I use tabs is because it gives the people the choice to decide how their code looks. If I used spaces, I don't give them a choice. They have to use what I define for them. Yeah, so let's switch back to tabs. Considering that I can change how tabs are displayed on GitHub as well. So echo heart tabs is true, boom, and then cargo form FMT. Boom. What's the new file? Oh, right. Switch back to tabs. Boom. Okay, nice. I'm in my comfort zone again. I'm so glad that for some odd reason this heart disappeared and it's no longer there. To be fair, I did write regex, no, not regex, CSS that removes it, but it didn't work at first. But now it does. Oh my god, Reddit is going crazy with the notifications. And they don't disappear until I close them either, which is probably configurable, and I probably should, but I haven't yet. Nice, like, a lot of people will look at this and are like, what? 3? That's insane. But I like it a lot. And I get to have it without other people also having to have it. I think that's very valuable. While if you specifically like 4, then you might benefit more from the standardization of spaces. It's a non-decisive discussion. It will never really have a single answer that everyone agrees on. Function that searches for directories that have Git inside of them and Actusi Git statuses them. That's a lot. Let me show off what I mean by that. Thought so. With all due respect, it looks like OCD, which I do have, to be fair. So that may explain it. But I mean, it's kinda, somewhat, thanks to my OCD that my shell prompt looks so good, and overall my setup is so great. Does it matter at the end of the day? Not as much as the other things, but programming is also a hobby, not just a job. GSA is just my function to look at the Git statuses of my common like Git directories. I want to implement a similar thing in Fish Shell that will just recursively look at all the subdirectories of the current directory and Git status the directories that have Git inside of them. Not to all. Well, yeah, that's why I'm having this discussion, because I do have it as a hobby as well. I don't know, doing something that you're not passionate about, I don't really want to. Recognized Git is what has this error, so let's fix it. Not local share floral barrel. In terms of more serious, I guess, projects, what matters most is to standardize, is to have a single decision for a project, decide either on tabs or on spaces and other formatting rules, and make the formatter enforce them, like pre-git add / pre-git commit. That's what's important there, is the surety that a decision will stay consistent rather than the decision itself. Learn more about Git stash, enter I decided that this is a bad idea. Witch House 40k? Yeah. It would be crazy if that's not who you meant, and it just so happened that it's like a sound-alike. I have quite a lot of songs added by him. Yeah. Let me look at my favorites. This, like, the tracks with these covers are one of the best. They're so good. And overall, Witch House 40k, he's like understandably cringe, but in a very enjoyable way. Kind of like Sinister, by the way, and kind of like Sasmula, and kind of like Seth Frosty, but Seth Frosty is a very bad example. He's just kind of bad. He's just kind of bad. But I still like him to some extent. What else do we have here? Ooh, okay. Let's look. There's no such thing as cringe. I disagree. Well, I very rarely actually cringe. I call things cringe kind of often though. Like, I realize that they're, I guess, supposed to be cringe, but usually I enjoy them, regardless. Rather than being, oh no, it's so cringe. Bleh. No, that's not me. What I want to learn is how to enable, or rather disable, case sensitivity while searching. And the option that you're probably thinking of, I know about it. I don't want to have my searches always case insensitive. I want to make the decision myself. And when you're searching for something, say we search for occurrence, if I press enter right now, I end up at the start of that match. But if I do /E, I end up at the end. I imagine there's a similar thing for case insensitivity. In that case, what are the words here that appear both in... oh, I guess I can do it this way. No, I didn't guess it. I don't think so. I wonder where it's like... where the... in search offset, right? Search offset. Oh, wow. Oh, that's interesting. You can perform multiple searches? What? Left? Right? How does this work? Hold up. Left? I don't get it. Oh, I see. I think. So we search for characters and then 2. Huh. I don't particularly get it. Okay. So these are all the offsets, which are great and amazing. But I wonder, can I interactively... Alright, goodbye. Can I interactively change case sen? Thank you. You too. I hope ChatGPT understands what I mean by this. To be fair, even I can barely understand what I mean by this. Anywhere in the pattern makes the search case insensitive. Okay, and then capital C. Alright then, let's yank this word and paste it here and do it like this. Then I search for more, more, and then capital C. Oh, and it works. even though I have the quote-unquote no magic mode on, when apparently it does have magic. Okay, so it's pretty simple. And then if I had case insensitivity by default, I would do this to turn on case sensitivity. Very convenient. I want my searches to be case sensitive by default, and then when I need case insensitivity for me to make that decision. So let me, as I often do, write this down in my notebook so I can process it via multiple days and fully remember it. So \C, \C, case sensitivity, boop. All right. K takes count for VS Code. Okay, so this is kind of interesting. Let's go to VS Code functions and close editor. Let's make this command, instead of notify, let's make it call, so it actually holds up the thread, and make it accept a count. It's actually pretty easy to do that, so let me show you. First of all, boom. No, not if, that's not what I want. For I is 1, vim v count 1 do end, and that's kind of it. So now if we reboot VS Code and try to open multiple files, say we open this file and this file, now in theory when I do 2 capital K, but that's only in theory. Huh, interesting. What is that syntax? You mean this? Because it is disgusting. Because it's Lua. Ew. I've been saying this like for a while. And I guess you can do this, but let's do D2 find space. You can't. You have to define a variable, which is so silly. Okay, let's first of all confirm that I'm not stupid and I'm actually... Yeah, that's exactly how you do it. That's exactly how you do it. Even then, doing it too fast at a time doesn't work. The better question is K even mapped to that function specifically? Yes. Yes, it is. I guess it doesn't work then. Of course, the alternative is putting a sleep there or something of that sort, but that is just very not worth it. If I need to, I'll spam some key, no worries. Just kind of wish that it would easily support this kind of behavior, where I could say 5 capital K to close 5 files. But alright. Let's go to functions in big, I think. Yeah, search for current word. Right now, if we press this key, for example, we search for a word, which is very convenient. But if we put something like this, it no longer matches because of the word boundary. This, for the most part, is actually good and convenient. But what if I'm in a markdown document? Let's go here, for example, and I want to go to the next, this thing. I can't press this because, well, word boundaries. There's not a word here. It's not considered as such. So we end up searching for nothing, making this less useful, making me have to go into visual mode and then do this, which is just kind of unnecessary. And I haven't noticed myself really needing word boundaries that often. So let's just go here and DGN, and we don't need this at all. Now we just search for the word in the Vim sense with no like boundary stuff. Let's reload. And now when I go here, it works just immediately. So when I press those keys, what I understand is I'm essentially doing this, but in a more convenient way. And that we should commit. So it's in dot files. 6? God damn, hold up. So VS Code we can immediately stage. I don't usually look at the changes there. But what are the others? I actually just want to see, are there any very important changes here? If not, that's okay. This is a very interesting, like, glyph. Or maybe it isn't even a glyph. I guess it isn't. Huh. Okay. Important thing. We should uncomment this so tabs work again. And so I don't forget, let's reload this immediately. Okay. So NeoVim, search for current word, doesn't care about boundaries. That's a different word. Okay. Search object for return type in Rust. Function that searches for directories. Learn more about git stash. All those feel like a thing for a different day. But search object for return type in Rust actually feels useful because what I want to do today is work a lot on Floral Barrel. Hence the title of the stream, cleaning up this mess. This mess being the code I wrote yesterday for Floral Barrel, because I really wanted to have some functionality of the project, so I could pretty easily watch, apparently, the entirety of the One Piece live action. Yeah, so here it's actually going to be useful. Let's go here to essentially see some function. And I doubt this actually works, but I want to see if that's true. I think like this. And then but it doesn't. I might be forgetting how, like, look behinds, I think they're called. Might be forgetting how they're correctly used. What if I do groups? So I do this, space, and it immediately doesn't work, by the way. Oh, hold up, not regex mode. So I do this, then white space. Ooh, maybe like a non-capturing group. Did I just hear a regex word? Maybe you will be able to help me here. I kind of like consistently forget regex. And then remember it every time I have to use it, and then forget it again. So, not even non-capturing groups. Wow. What if we capture? What I'm trying to capture here is self. So self is the return type, and I'm trying to make a text object for it. So it always goes after a arrow and before this. Now you will probably say, I know you like for a while. You'll probably say, actually, this bracket may not even be here. What if it's on the next line? Which is a fair point. But for me, it's always going to be on the same line, which is why I don't care. \v is a Vim thing, which basically forces regex mode. And there's also capital V instead, which forces quote-unquote raw mode, but it isn't. Well, it's called no magic mode, but it's lying. There is actually still magic. Because the default is a very weird mix of regex and non-regex, and you have to keep remembering what you escape and what you don't. It's very weird, which is why I have \v or capital V by default. It doesn't recognize groups, and that makes me upset. Because, well, obviously, hold up, does it consider this as a special character? Yes. What? I don't think it is in regex. For Rust identifiers, the proper pattern is probably yeah, but you're forgetting a very important factor. Any amount of word characters that don't start with a digit. Yeah, but we're not just looking for identifiers here. Let me give you a situation where we have an option of this. This is not a word character. So we're searching for the return type, which is not necessarily an identifier. What we just noticed is the fact that right triangle bracket is apparently a special symbol. Am I correct in thinking that it isn't in actual regex? I might be forgetting it. So this is nice. And then, and this stops working. Is this how you do a look behind? Basically, this has to be before this, but we're not matching it. I imagine that the regex of Vim/NeoVim is pretty limited. Looks correct, you say. Maybe like a non-capturing group. And then... Wow, it doesn't support shit. That's crazy. What if we like read the docs on what's allowed? Huh, I actually kind of forgot about this. The fact that we can just do something like match this. Oh, hold up. Let's enable regex. Match this or this. It's not often useful, but should be remembered. So let me write it down. Instead of blaming the skies for the limitations we have, let's try to work with them. And see what we can do here. Matches foo and foo beep. I don't really get it, gonna be honest. Ah, I see. Basically, it's the opposite of the OR symbol. Vim rejects uses a stupid syntax for lookarounds. What? Why? Aw. No, actually, good job, because I didn't know about that, and why the fuck did they change it? There is no reason whatsoever to change it. Oh my god. Fucking Braum. And he's that now, like... Fuck you, bro. But thank you. But also... goddamn. Okay, so... Positive look behind. This... Let's copy this. It doesn't work, but it doesn't say anything. It doesn't say that my like thingy is invalid, which is a great start. Maybe we don't need a group here, but here instead. I super don't get it. Am I reading this correctly? I imagine the colon also goes there. One day I'm gonna get it. You know, your language is great when the user has to guess until they're correct. Well, to be fair, I don't have to, but it almost feels like the most efficient way of doing it, rather than being obvious by using fucking rejects. I don't get it. Where did you find this information so I can like read the doc? I doubt it's this. Yeah, thought so. Apparently, a stupid crap syntax comes after the capturing group. Huh? What? What? That's insane. That's complete lunacy. Wow. That is... What? What I hate about most about this is that it makes a bit of sense in terms of how Vim rejects works, but that would be the same as That is so stupid. Wow. Was there really a need to do this? Like, I see that some decisions for Vim and NeoVim have been made with the intention of making it like easier to type out, completely forgetting the notion that if it's ridiculous, it's not worth it, you know? Okay, well, let's try it. A random article I found on the internet. Thank you for doing that. I would have been like lost for a while still probably. So a capturing group of this, we'll put a space here, and then this, which is wow, like, you know, hold up, positive look behind, and then Reddit, stop. It doesn't look like it works, because it doesn't. How the fuck do I use a look behind? You showed me how to use the look ahead. Now let me copy this into my thingy while I still remember that. Capturing group. Match any food that's preceded by bar. Okay, we'll do that. Instead of this, let's hold up. There's a smarter way of doing this, which is also stupider. Okay, let's search for this and DGN. And boop, boop, boop. Okay. Make an example here. So, boom, 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 boom. Yeah, because it's ridiculous. The brain worms. For a good reason, because it's ridiculous. It's completely insane. Actual lunacy. Well, let's attempt it. Let's attempt it. So, that's preceded by that. Okay, so we do this. What happens if we remove this? It stops working. So it is indeed a special character. Okay. Even this simpler example doesn't work. Don't tell me that I have to use their shitty ass default mode. I do. Maybe. Let's see. So we do this, then this, and I do? Oh my god. That is terrible. I guess in full regex mode, something here stops working. I also recognize that non-white space is not good enough, because it could be a result that has a space after a comma. So let's make this period to mean everything, and then I'm just like very hoping that it works. This and this. Oh my god. Just go with then and include. Yeah. That's exactly what I'm trying to do. I hope it works. What? Why is it not scrolling? Okay. Okay. My brain is also melting right now. Like, what the fuck is happening here? Can you tell? Uh-huh. What sucks the most is that it works. That's the worst thing. How dare it work? That's so terrible. That's so bad. Like, what is this? What is this? Just let me fucking use normal ass rejects. That's... Rejects already looks insane as is. You don't have to make it more insane. Trust me, you don't have to. You will not be punished. It's not illegal. There's a plugin for everything. To use like normal rejects. What is it called? We may check it out. But then like, I want to use normal rejects, but also I like something like being able to end up on the end of the search. If it somehow combines both of those, that would be amazing. Right, but for now, let's go to init.lua and add a new thing. Something like registers brackets. Yes, kinda. Convenient, isn't it? Brackets. And let's go to the neovim, right? Yeah. Ram. Really, I kind of wished it would. Neovim registers. Let's go back and z ne re. Okay, so now it works. Let's touch brackets.lua and go there. So this is going to be my file that contains an idea that I actually haven't mentioned yet. So these brackets are pretty useless as they are. They have a few things like the brackets M, for example, but they're strange and inconsistent. From the creator of Neovim Spider, check their repos. Okay, I will. So what I want to do is make these brackets plus letters, something like this, search for some specific text, basically making a text object. Not quite, but in a sense better, because we don't necessarily have to operate on that text object, we just go to it. So this R, did you guess the gimmick of this time? Yeah, it's pretty clear. At least it's not fucking speaking in Latin or something. Yeah, so this will go forwards to the next return in Rust, and this will go back. And there will be a similar idea for other letters, maybe like go to the next function definition and so on. Do not, absolutely fucking do not. You lunatic. Okay, so not F, but R. And we paste this fucking lunacy. Let's replace this with this. I don't fucking speak French. No, I don't. Boom, worked. So this will do it forwards, and this will do it backwards. Let's reload. Oh, I forgot to add an enter here. Boom. And we just jump to the next return value. And let's just ysgn. You can now use gn as the text object of the return value once you've jumped to it, which is very convenient. And as you can see, it actually like works. I can redo it if I want to, like it works. So aside from having to use that ridiculous regex, once you understand how it works, you at least have the ability to make a text object using regex that you don't necessarily have to immediately make an action on. Maybe you just want to go to this place first, maybe so we can CIA, because you can't CIA from here. Well, I guess you can, but maybe there are a lot of brackets and you want to minimize where you may be going. It's fun to stay at the YSGN. Is it a reference to something? Right, so you can like go to the return value, and then maybe that makes it easier to no, I don't. No clue. Just want to be sure we're on the same page. This is not all caps. This is inverted shit. By the way, on Linux, that's just the thing. Well, on KDE at the very least, you can straight up, instead of using caps lock, use shift lock, which is very interesting. I tried it for a second. I was like, nah. But to be fair, it makes more sense. I might have heard it, maybe, but I don't remember it. I remember the Kiki gay version by 6ix9ine. That is legit a legendary track. I have that. It's strictly superior. I don't know about that. There was an ad about a gay motel or whatever, kind of controversial back then. Huh. It's very popular in Italy. Didn't know. YMCA is very popular everywhere. I wonder, is there some other text object I can immediately think of to implement? Is it ever useful to go to the end of this? Not really. Not really. Okay, I'm fine with it for now then. Implement this R text object for Rust return type. Is your caps lock optimized for Vim or for typing? For typing? Definitely for typing. Adding an extra layer to Vim, I don't think it's necessary really. Considering that the shifted keys are supposed to be used less often, using caps lock actively in your Vim sessions feels kind of like, nah, too much. So now that I have discovered this amazing power, which is also very whack, by Vim I meant escape, control, shift, while for typing it is backspace. Ah, for Vim, yeah, my caps lock is escape and has been for like a long time now. Ever since I started using Vim, I quickly realized how important escape is. I just remapped it. Oh, so you're not actually talking about the caps lock key then? No, I was talking about the caps lock function. Alrighty. And then I can think of the other text objects I might want to create in the future. I was thinking of like maybe making a text object for if, but like, is that necessary? Oh, I see where this is an issue now. A bit of an issue. I may bring back borders, I may not, we'll see. I don't think it's super important. This feels like feels like it's going to be annoying to implement. This I will eventually come to, but right now I want to work on floral barrel. I warn you, the code is not very good, because it's been made specifically to just give me the functionality as soon as possible. And now is the time to actually like make it good code. First of all, I have a couple of to-dos here apparently. This module makes sure that a few things exist. First of all, the data directory pretty much that contains 3 files. It creates that directory as well as the files, but it doesn't actually do that yet. So let's implement this. First of all, I do have an issue with making, what am I trying to say here? I have an issue with making an instance of the struct and creating files at the same time. By all accounts, it should be new first and then create a method called on the instance. So let's actually do that. I was thinking of switching memory allocator here on Linux to mitigate some attacks. What are you thinking of, man? Why are you thinking of changing your fucking memory allocator? Think of, I don't know, touching grass? Like, what? That is so nerdy. I mean, I'm really not the one to talk about that, but come on now. First of all, get barrel directory. Yes, indeed, it does not actually create the directory, just gives us the path buffer to it. If I'm not thinking about the memory allocator, I'm thinking about taxes. Yeah, I feel you then. That makes sense. I just realized that I haven't left the house in at least 4 days. Very relatable, super relatable. I don't leave the house for as long as I have to, or rather, for as long as I can not leave the house. Like if I can buy in bulk and not leave the house, I do that. Because leaving the house is always like an experience, which I usually don't want. Dollar days, rookie numbers. I don't actually pay any income tax at all because I don't make enough money. Oof. Well, then I guess, to be fair, I don't even earn money yet. So there's a person that pays taxes, a person that doesn't pay taxes because they don't make enough, and a person who doesn't even work. I don't either. 9. Oh, I see. Mine cap was pre-tax. I think it's going to be easier if we just do this and rename this to new for now. Basically, new will just give us the path buffers. This pre-taxed off your salary. I'm pretty sure that's how it works in Russia too. I don't think you like pay taxes. Generally, it's just your job that does from your salary, and you kind of don't have to worry about taxes, I think, which is convenient, but maybe politically incorrect, because what if your job is actually like lying to you to some extent and underpaying you because they say, oh, we're just paying your taxes, when in reality they take some more for themselves or something. Like that can be a case. I see. It's not that way in America, I think. There you like specifically have to pay your own taxes. Usually that would be the case, but with this gig I was pre-taxed, not from my money. It looks so funny, it's like you're constantly screaming. Let's make a mark here. So essentially, we just parent buffer. Let's YG boop until the end of the line. Put it into my kill ring, then use regex until the end, and until the end this. Really? I kind of wished I could just do that, but I can't. What about this? No? Okay. Whatever. Let's grgn gr GN. What? Why is it there? Why is that there, rather? Let's yank. Oh. Oh, I see. grgn 3 times. We select this, MA this. Don't tell that to anyone, but you can actually have multiple cursors in the NeoM extension. You always check how much taxes you should have had to pay, and then just figure out how much you actually had to pay. That way your employer can screw you over. They could have had no way of knowing how much taxes you had to pay, but you should always be able to know that. Yeah, probably. I'm not knowledgeable about that, so could be either way, for all I know. Parent buffer in this case is floral barrel, and we just do this. Boom. So for shows, it's shows file. For watched, it's watched file. For watch later, it's the watch later file. There's no real need to make them constants, but I felt like it's a good practice. Now, all new does is just return us the new like object of data files. It doesn't create them, so it doesn't have side effects. Right? Yes. Yeah, it doesn't, which is pretty amazing. So this unwrap is safe because by all accounts we should just get it. Could you sell me Kitty? I am worried I will stay on Alacrity long term. Okay, let me show you something. Have you ever wanted to scroll and then you realize that all you have is like this, so by line scrolling, and then immediately jumps like from 0 to 100 by page scrolling, which makes it like very annoying? Have you ever been annoyed by that? Do you sometimes use less yourself so you can go through the output in a more managed manner? What if I told you there's just a hotkey for this? To open the output of the last command in less. I'll fucking tell you more. What if I told you you can just open the entire terminal in less? You can scroll as much as you want using more reasonable motions in less. Isn't that amazing? Then you don't really have to think about laying out your layout in some specific manner, because you can just use built-in ones. There are a couple of them and they're very like simple and usable. Aside from that, Kitty is pretty easily scriptable with Python as far as I know. You can make hotkeys for quite a lot of things. For example, I made a hotkey to open the scroll back in NeoVim, so I just can now like copy anything that I want and so on. Really? Huh. This is a pretty like big point for me in terms of Kitty. I like how you can style it, how you can make hotkeys. Like, it's very simple, very obvious. Just map this hotkey to whatever that is. You can decide like parameters and arguments for a lot of things. Ooh, this is pretty useful. Say I do ggl to get the link to the remote. I can use a certain thing to open a link on the screen in my browser, which I find incredibly convenient. And I also have another thing. Those are just kitty functions, by the way. You can map a hotkey to them to get a path or a link from your screen and paste it into your command line, which is mwah, I love it. So why that is incredibly useful, say you do GS and you're like git add, let's get this file. You see where I'm going with this? It's pretty amazing and very useful. And that is these two. Okay, good night to you. For me, it's soon gonna be morning. I woke up at like 10 p.m. Good 8. Right, you can also combine different actions together. Maybe you do multiple like actions together very often. You can just make a hotkey that does all of them in your order, which is pretty convenient. Yeah, there's a lot of themes that you can very easily install via kitty plus kitten themes, and then you get a screen that shows you all the themes that you can just pick. It's very nice. Yeah, so I like it a lot. Super recommend it. Not sure how to sell it more than that. Where were we? Right, this unwrap is safe because by all accounts it should be safe. Right, and in the documentation it's not explained why it can be none. So let's just imagine that it's the case. Okay. Now we have new. Let's make a method now called create. And now it will be called on the instance of data files. So self right? Well, we'll see, I guess. Create won't just always create, it will make sure that the data files are created. So if they are, nothing will happen. And that's actually the only thing we need. This can't fail, or more specifically, we don't care if it does. I guess a better approach, a more like good approach, is still returning whether it's created or failed to create something because it already exists. But I don't think it's necessary. Okay, so we have the thing to self. So file system, create all directories by self floral barrel. and we provide this. Alright, so if we unwrap this, that means that if it's like an error, it will panic, which is precisely the opposite of what we want, which is why we have to ignore the value specifically. For files, it's a bit more annoying. Fs exists. No? I thought that's how it works. Maybe a file exists. Oh my god. How to check if a file exists in Rust. What? Is that really the way to do it? That seems pretty silly, no? Uh-huh. Path exists, but it's not a file. Make sure that that is file existence, not file access. In C++, it's often hard to differentiate. Huh. I just kind of imagined that this would be like less annoying, you know? Can also handle any potential errors with the that to handle the case where the file path might not exist or might not be accessible. Let's look at this. So first we get the metadata, and then if it's a file, we do nothing, else we still override. So on the happy path of that, we go to the unhappy path of this to create a file, and the first unhappy path of this, we also go here. Let's just take this for now, so we can change it to our needs. I do agree, it looks ridiculous, very ugly, but usually all that is unnecessary. So let's paste this. Not here though, but let's copy it this way. Okay. We'll just make an extra function called ensure created. I'm not sure if we're going to be returning anything. Jesus Christ. Ensure created. File path is path. Hold up, let me cook. Why do I not cook? Oh, because square bracket P aligns to the current indent, not the one that's actually supposed to. Ah, that's interesting. Right, since this is a reference already, we don't need to put a reference there. So we can make this a function which is essentially just exists. Bro, what are you doing? replace if metadata is file, else with match metadata is file. I'll do it my way because yours is literally unreadable. I'll make a function that is basically does exist, which will return an option of unit. Let me explain that. So file exists, option basically replace the if with a, I'll do it my way. So we do fs metadata, instead of path we do file path, then we do this, meaning if it does not exist, we return that. Which basically means that it's none if the file does not exist. It's a very syntax sugary way of doing it, and you'll see what I mean in just a second. Then we is file. If it isn't a file, then we also need to override it. But if it just returns something, boom, pretty much. Now let's figure out the syntax of this. Let's read this. It will be used on options, not results, in a function that returns option, meaning that I should probably return a result instead. Ooh, if you want to discard, that's even nicer actually. We just turn it into that. That's interesting. How are you a Boolean? Oh, because it is a Boolean. This looks a bit silly. I don't think the idea works as well as I thought. So okay, we turn metadata into that whole thing, and we return none, essentially meaning no file doesn't exist. Okay, let's do it a bit of a different way. So we do this, let, what was it? Let metadata is this, and it's a result. Instead of option, we return a Boolean. So if it's false, it doesn't exist. If metadata is error, we return false. If metadata unwrap, because if it was an error, we already handled it. If it's a file, and then we just boom. So if it's not a file, it pretty much doesn't exist. If it is a file, we get the singular true that can be in this situation. What do you think about this approach? How about this? Yeah, I actually like this more, surprisingly. There's probably like a cooler way of doing this though. Single expression. What do you mean? Oh, like cooler way in terms of, yeah, I see what you mean. But I don't see how it can make this like make more sense, I guess, be more like follow the language standards more. It's really fucking hard to read. This is often the wrong way to approach things. Basically, the first if check and the unwrap check. I think I know what you mean. This will return. So is it an error? Yes, therefore it doesn't exist. And is metadata okay? I like this. So if it's not okay, that means that file definitely doesn't exist. We return false. Then if it is okay, we check, is this a file? If it's not a file, it once again doesn't exist. I like this. This is pretty elegant. It makes sense too, which is more important. So aside from being really cool, we also made a function that makes sense and is elegant. Okay, I'm happy with that. And sure. Hold up, file exists. Right, I haven't yet made the thing that actually creates the files. The unwrap should be lazy. Does it matter? Which one of these is lazy? How do I do that? I forget. Yeah, that's good. I was like, really? Like, would it get there? So that's nice. Since it should eval to false if metadata is not okay. True. That's exactly what we're kind of expecting out of that. If not, file exists. Yeah, exactly. Then we somehow create the file, which is fs write, I think. File path. I would recommend using initials for function signatures. No. You mean like singular characters? Fuck no. And we just have to file path. No, fuck no. I don't care. I think that's super unnecessary. Letters are free. You're not paying for them. Use them. Make them fucking descriptive. FP? That could be fucking functional programming for all I know. File path is actually super readable and understandable. And the argument of, well, you could look at the code to see what that means. See, that's a losing argument. Here, I don't necessarily want to write, gonna be honest. I just want to make sure that the file exists. Basically create the file, but not necessarily write any data to it. I use a TTY that prints stuff out, and the cost of paper is rising. Why did it do that? It shouldn't. How do I touch, for fuck's sake, a file in Rust? Basically, creates a file, not necessarily writing some specific data to it. File create, which by the way overrides the file if it already exists, which is why we're making the check to begin with. So for JSON, we will want to start with curly brackets. The other two files are just plain text, so it's not needed there. Alright, what if I want to write a string to a file and create it at the same time? Why are you suddenly using Python? I just asked you a question about Rust. It's the teletype for a reason. You should not be just importing functions like this. Pretty sure the standard practice is to call this write function from fs, and you include fs. But file you actually include as a thing. Okay, so fs write, in other words, what I was using to begin with. What do you mean use this? What do you mean? Warning that imports... No! Oh my god. Wait. That's horrible. Why can't you do that? That's terrible. Initial... well, I guess just contents works. It doesn't, it's a... Oh! What is C? Write a slice as the entire contents of a file. This function will create a file if it does not exist, and will entirely replace its contents if it does. This is a convenient function for using file create and write all with fewer imports. Oh, so you don't necessarily need to write binary data to it. That's good to know. Okay. Okay, so a string slice, and it's like, oh, I can fail. And this is actually kind of important. What does it return? Okay, so let's use a result. I hate that it does that, and then it goes me there, which is insane. So either nothing or a static string slice as the error message. Okay. If this is does it give an error? I guess it gives an error, right? Hold up. First of all, we return nothing. And we put this here, so it's a guard clause. If file exists, everything is fine. If we write and encounter an error, then we return. We don't even return, we just error. We might need to change the static string slice to an actual string though, in just a second. Failed to write to. I always see your streams but unable to find out what you are doing. Well, to be fair, I do a lot of different things on streams, so it's kind of chaotic. Right now I'm working on my Rust projects for tracking shows that I watch. If we go to the terminal, open in share Floral, and it works brilliant. I have a Git repository that contains my history of watching stuff. You can see that, oh, I watched this episode, then this, then I finished. What else do we have here? Me watching One Piece a lot, dropping shows, so all this. All that used to be done programmatically. I just get a runner when I was back on Windows and say something like show set episode, show name, and then some episode, right? But I am on Linux now, so I can't use AutoHotkey, therefore I'm rewriting it in Rust to have this functionality again. So that's what I'm currently doing. Since this can fail, I want to write a useful error message to the user. File to me too, I just pretend to understand. Never use the computer myself. Failed to create file path, and that will start working in just a second. Boom, we format, but now we get a string. So instead of, hold up, instead of this, we return a string. Now we actually have to return it this way. Why? Really? It doesn't? I'm surprised. Huh. Wow. All right. Display. Boom. So failed to create file this, and that will give us this error message that we'll be able to print. I think this looks reasonable. Yeah, that's pretty readable. I say while having 3 closing brackets. Maybe giving some hints in the title can help for future streams. I sometimes make them like pretty literal, like working on my blah blah blah. But the thing is, really often I have like a bunch of very different tasks that I'm doing, which are differently interesting, like in different ways. So usually I just kind of can't name a stream some specific thing, because it's not only that. So then for most of the stream it will just be incorrect, you know? Which is why some streams have unspecific titles. True, I wanted to work on Floral Barrel here, but that's not the only thing that I did, so that's why the stream is called this way. Okay, so ensure exists works. Let's stage this for commission. Commission is not a word. Implement this, and let me cook. I'm pretty sure that will work. And if it does, it will be amazing. Let me try out if it works first, and then flex. I am amazing. Okay, so let me explain what I just did there. First of all, I yanked this word and added it to my kill ring. Now the first and only element of my kill ring contains file exists. Then I went here, added this so that I can yank. Let me show this in visual so it's more clear. Yank this, boom, I added to my kill ring as well. Now it has 2 elements, file exists, and the second element contains all this. Now I use kill ring compile. So now what's currently in my default register is both of those elements together as a single string. The next thing I do is move my default register to my system register, so to my system clipboard. And then I went in and pasted it. That's why NeoVim is so great. You can use so many cool actions. To be fair, all of those actions they just specified to you, I implemented them myself, so Doesn't really work that well as a compliment to New of him, but cool that you can. Boom. Now with file exists and ensure exists, we can actually use them. Why can this fail? If any directory in the path specified does not already exist and could not be created otherwise. So create all directories, basically make directory -p will throw an error It will only throw an error if it's fucked and can't be unfucked. Okay, that's different. So I thought what this does, I thought that create dir all throws an error if the directory path already exists. That is not the case, which is interesting to realize. So this should now still give us an error. So result, and it once again does this annoying bullshit, nothing or a string. Okay, so DTF, if this whole thing is an error, we basically override the error, return error, what's more convenient? To owned, I think. Couldn't, oh, hold up. Well, in that case, let's format it instead, because adding what it tried to create is pretty convenient. Couldn't create this, which in this case is self floral barrel, and it's complaining because, yeah, boom. And we don't care about the OK value, because if it's OK, it already did its action. Then ensure exists, file path self. I'm not going to type anything else yet. And this, okay, because we will have 3 files. The first one is shows, and what? It needs that. The second one is watched. The third one is watch later. Now, what's the issue here? Let's look. Okay, so you do need to use those. Didn't know. Will note. What's the issue here? Huh. Because I'm trying to access the same thing twice, but I'm not using a mutable reference, so multiple references should be fine. Path buffer. Ah, I see. For some odd reason, the display method isn't called automatically, which is pretty weird. So if everything ends up being okay, we just return that. Let's go over this once again. So we try to create the parent data directory that will contain all the files that we're actually going to be changing using the program. And then if we encounter an error by trying to create that directory, so it doesn't already exist and we can't create it for some reason, we say that we couldn't create this directory, and we specify it to the user so they have a bit more information. What they can do with it is a whole different situation and question, but it's better programming. And then we do a very similar thing. We ensure exists, which basically just means we create a file if it doesn't already exist, but if we can't create it, then we throw the error. I should encrypt my RAM? Why? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Yeah. So this only happens if the file does not already exist, and when we try to write that file, we can't for some reason. And now that is displayed. Now, let's change this to empty JSON object and yank this. What? Oh, caps lock. Well, that's annoying. Let's make this a constant. Generally, there's really no need, but I actually just kind of like it. Instead of just specifying an empty set of curly brackets, I specifically say that I'm making an empty JSON object here. Beware. When we specify an empty string, it's okay, yeah. Now that makes more sense, because that's actually like a place on the disk. Okay, I see. Still, why though? Is that like an actual security risk in any way? Should probably go. All right then. It was nice seeing you. If we specify an empty string, it's very obvious that we mean, well, nothing. Just create the file, don't write anything to it. Have a nice day, or night. Morning, actually, in about half an hour. It's going to be 4 AM. But here we're using a constant to specify more precisely that we're not just doing anything. We're creating a JSON file, and therefore an empty JSON object. So data is done. Now we have to go to main to call create here. So data create. If data create is error, hold up, let me cook. Let is created. if let this, no, if let is created, creation, boom, is that how we do it? What I'm trying to do here is, first of all, boom, second of all, irrefutable if let pattern. This pattern will always match, so the if let is useless. How do I basically only do something if data create is an error and also grab the error message? Let's try to look. It gave us an example of using if let some time ago. I see. That's pretty simple. If let, but we creation is an error. Print line creation. But of course we have to do this bullshit. Boom. So we create the data, and if we get an error message, let's rename this to message, we print that message, and let's not forget, we return exit code. What? Failure. I haven't actually added this to my program yet, which I'm somewhat surprised by. Suckies. Suckies. What? Oh, I'm stupid. Boom. And now it's complaining because we don't actually return it always. So let's return exit code, success. Boom. Okay, let's commit this. Data creation failure handled, exit code returned. A very, like, almost cryptic commit message that sounds like a riddle. Okay. 2 hours. I was aiming to stream about 2 hours specifically, and I'm starting to get hungry. So thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the stream. We're gonna come back to it. And probably how I'm going to go about it is I'll go sections like making stuff for the project off stream and then suddenly pop back on stream. Basically it will work however it does, so you may encounter some I did some mining off stream situations. Yeah, so thanks for watching, everyone. I think it's on 13.